Another thing that creationists often say is that if we evolved from apes, why are there still apes on the planet? Richard Dawkins tackles this topic in a YouTube video. He says that we aren't actually descendant from current day apes, that apes and humans are actually descendant from a common ancestor. That common ancestor no longer exists because it evolved into humans and apes. It basically branched off into two species, one of them becoming Homo sapiens and the other one becoming modern day apes, which is why our DNA is so closely matched. There's a famous clip on YouTube of a girl who goes up to a microphone and Richard Dawkins is up on the stage, and her question is, she says, I know this is going to be an easy one to answer, but what if you're wrong? If you want to see the clip, just go to YouTube and search for Dawkins, What If You're Wrong. It's a pretty famous clip because the girl went up to the microphone and you could tell by the way she asked her question that she thought she was just going to own Richard Dawkins, that he was not going to have an answer, that this was, you know, the biggest pearl of wisdom, or you know, just going to floor him. And I remember thinking right after she asked it, lady, you're so out of your league, you have no idea. Anyway, if you watch the clip, his answer was pretty brilliant. I personally don't understand the point of the question. Are you saying that I should hedge my bets and start believing in God just in case he does actually exist? Are you a believer in God just because you're afraid that if he does exist, you don't want to piss him off? You know, if he is God and he is all-knowing and all-seeing, he could probably tell if you're bullshitting him. The idea that I should believe in a fairy tale just to ensure that if I'm wrong, I won't be cast into the pits of hell for eternity seems rather absurd to me. Hey, if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. It's like Richard Dawkins says, what if you're wrong? People of faith often claim that without God and religion, their life would have no purpose. So that kind of implies that I was put on earth for one reason, and that was to have a relationship with God. That also implies that a person without religion is a person who has no purpose. What is the meaning of life? Why am I here? I'll tell you one thing, I'm not here to suck up to a God in the hopes that I won't go to hell someday. My life has meaning. I live, I love, I laugh. I look forward to Christmas with families. I like taking trips and eating good meals. My purpose is to enjoy the one true gift that was given to me by my parents, and that is life. Many species of animals on this earth live and survive to do nothing more than propagate the species. Human beings have evolved so much that we no longer have to spend 100% of our time fighting and surviving to keep the species alive. We have found a way to make that only a portion of our existence, so we have time to pursue other hobbies like the pursuit of happiness. I don't need a purpose beyond living my life. I think that life is a gift. Every day you're alive is a gift. And I personally believe that people who dedicate their time to worshiping a God are wasting precious time. Time that could be spent going on a trip or going to a barbecue. It would be interesting to me if you could bring a person back from the dead and say to them, okay, you can see now that there is no God and no heaven. You spent a large portion of your life believing in a fairy tale. How do you feel now? Ripped off? Cheated? Bamboozled? I'll tell you one thing, I'm pretty sure that the person would have lived their life a little bit differently if they had known the truth. Live every day as if it's your last is a very popular expression. Sitting around and waiting for the end so that you can go to some magical playground in the sky is a colossal waste of time, especially if it causes you to lead a less fulfilling life, which would then also make it tragic. One of the things I find interesting about religion is why are there so many rules? And now if you're a person of faith, you know that religion has rules, lots of rules. Now I'm not talking about the no-brainer stuff like thou shalt not kill, rape, steal, that kind of stuff. Many religions out there dictate that you can't eat meat. They tell you when to have sex and in what position. They tell you who to worship and when. They tell you to not even think about worshiping anyone else. Why would God put a pig on this earth, make it absolutely delicious, and then tell me not to eat it? Why would God make sex feel so good and then impose rules on when and how I can do it? Why would God be so petty as to tell me that I can only worship him? I mean, why would he even care? I mean, does God have ego issues? Maybe a little bit insecure? It seems to me like these rules were conjured up by man and not handed down from an almighty God. Creationists have long disregarded the theory of evolution. Now, this has come to change in the past several years because disregarding evolution now makes you look like a crackpot because there's just so much evidence now that it's just impossible to deny. So that tends to leave creationists in a bit of a pickle. I mean, how can there be a God or a creator if evolution is a fact? So creationists did the only thing they could do. They changed their story and said, okay, evolution is real, but it was all created and watched over by a grand designer. And that evolution was all part of the design. Wow, what a very convenient answer. I mean, the only alternative is to admit that there is no God, which is completely out of the question for a creationist. So they fit a round peg in a square hole. Okay, you're right, but God was the one who kicked off the process of evolution. A process that would take millions of years that would eventually result in the existence of my children on earth. I gotta wonder when that moment actually happened. Did God look down and say, okay, well, they don't look like apes that much anymore. Okay, they're now officially my children. Now that moment had to come because we all know that apes are not children of God. I think they belong in the all God's creatures category. So when did we make the switch? Was it when we evolved into Homo sapiens? Does that mean if I murdered and raped as an ape, was God willing to overlook it? But the moment I turned into a Homo sapien, I'm suddenly in the bad books and may go to hell for doing the same actions? So God, the great creator, started evolution, and then he sat back and watched for millions and millions and millions of years, waiting for human beings, his children, to evolve. Now you would think that God would have just simply created us, you know, Adam and Eve. I mean, how powerful is he that he couldn't actually produce a cake? He had to mix all the ingredients and wait for it to bake. And why would he just sit there and watch us evolve? A process that took millions and millions of years, in the course of which 99.9% of all species died out. All of that life and death, mass extinction and waste was part of a master plan that would eventually lead to Homo sapiens. Why then sit around for another 200,000 years and watch human beings die of disease due to our lack of knowledge of medicine, allow us to war with each other, and so on? Now, disease and war still plague mankind to this day. The ability to help the sick has evolved greatly, but unfortunately so has the ability to kill in large numbers. Now religion can be seen as a player in both of those situations. People are willing to kill in large numbers in the name of religion. People are also willing to give up their lives to help the sick and dying in third world countries, in the name of religion as well. The difference is helping the sick and malnourished can be as easily done by atheists as it can by people of religion.